Well, oh well. To Morning Jocks, Damian Mitchell alongside John Saber. And I thought Conrad was on vacation, but after this weekend, to be honest, I think he'd rather be here at work. Having to, I guess, eat some crow as opposed to celebrating everything that happened over the weekend. One, happy college football season. Hope everybody was safe. Hope everybody enjoys their little bit of a longer weekend to soak in as much college football as you possibly can. But week one has come and gone. Well, we technically is still going on. We have games tonight, TCU and North Carolina for a little Monday night football action in the college football ranks. But here in the state of Alabama, it's unique. It's a unique situation that we find ourselves in because one side of the state, they're feeling pretty doggone good. They are sitting high. Yeah, there's some things that you probably need to clean up, but you'd much rather do that at 1-0. And the other side of the state is waking up and hopefully trying to tell themselves that this dream is over, but it's not. It's actually reality. But I want to stick to the winning side of things. Friday night, Auburn took a trip to Waco, Texas from the Friday Night Lights. And all the off-season chatter, Hugh Freeze isn't taking the season seriously. He's out there golfing when he needs to be recruiting. Well, I'll tell you what. There is nothing that needs to be discussed anymore because he found a way to go to Waco, Texas and knock off the Baylor Bears as Auburn knocks off Baylor 38-24. And one of the beautiful things that I came away from this game was he stuck to the game plan. Auburn has over 300 yards rushing. Where was this last season? No, you know what? Not going to do this. We are talking about the present. We are talking about the now. This is exactly what you needed to see as an Auburn fan. There are things that you can correct, like your secondary. It was one of the bigger question marks I had coming into the season. And Sawyer Robertson throws for 419 yards, 3 touchdowns. Now, a lot of it was because of the scoreboard when they found themselves down, multiple scores, and they were just trying to chew away and get back into the ball game. But the thing is, your secondary, they're handsy, which is perfectly fine. They're physical, which is perfectly fine. Those are things that can be corrected. As opposed to another team in the state that we are definitely going to have some real conversations about. But I thought offensively speaking, Jackson Arnold was efficient. And I think the thought process I had when he hit the transfer portal coming from Oklahoma was, all right, look at everything that happened and transpired at Oklahoma. He was out there throwing to walk-ons. Like he was in a predicament where he couldn't have success. Well, now he transferred to Auburn. A lot of playmakers around him, but I think the biggest X factor was his ability to run the football. And once that opened up, Baylor really had no chance of stopping Auburn once they truly put their hand in the dirt and decided that they were going to run the football. And that was the recipe for success in Auburn's win against Baylor over the weekend. Jackson Arnold, 16 carries, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns, only had 107 yards passing, but to me, Hugh Freeze looked at the game plan, fielded out as the game was going on, and realized, you know what? They cannot stop us between the tackles. Let's not even try to let's not try to look cute. Let's not try to, nickel and dime them down the field. Nope. If they can't stop us on first down from getting 7 to 8 yards a carry, we got this. And that's exactly what happened for Auburn this weekend. When you look at Damari Alston, 16 carries for 18 yards. Jeremiah Cobb, 16 carries for 74 yards. You're within those 3 guys, and you also throw Eric Singleton Jr., who had a 3-yard gain on a first down. To me, that is what you saw from your offensive line and what you saw from that running back room, and even with your quarterback running the ball. That is what is going to be Auburn's success moving forward. Understandably so that the receivers may not have – it wasn't their game plan. It just wasn't. And Hugh Freeze didn't try to force it, and your defense responded when they needed to. But I do think that, selling out against Baylor in the run game, they couldn't establish anything when they started to get one-dimensional by throwing the ball. And again, the numbers tell you that Sawyer Robertson threw for 419 yards. But if you really watched it, it was because they were fighting to get back into the ball game the rest of the way. So I think that for Auburn, week 1, coming out 1-0 and dominating Baylor the way that you did, you have to feel ecstatic about how the rest of the season could possibly look, because you've seen it now.
I know you say we're not going back to the past, but this is what Auburn should have been doing ever since Hugh Freeze got here. I'm not saying they should be a run-only team, but if you at least attempt to run, and let's see, hey, if it's working, let's stick with it. If not, okay, we've got to pass, because you heard this from Hugh Freeze after the game on Friday about focusing on the running game.
Yeah, it was working for us, and our game plan is multiple, because you really don't know how people are going to play you, and they have different flavors every week. But that's certainly what we felt like was our best option tonight with what we were getting.
And smartly, like you mentioned, they stuck with it.
Yep. And
some of it may have felt like Jackson Arnold may have dropped back and tried to pass. It's like, well, there's literally nobody in the middle of the field. Like, I'd be stupid not to do this.
Don't overthink it.
And maybe also now you have a quarterback capable of doing that. But having all those pieces is one thing. The actual execution of it is the other. And something that we'll get into when we talk about the other team in the state and executing or not. Auburn was able to actually do it. They had the opportunity to do it, and more importantly, they actually did do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be a very interesting couple of weeks, because I assume they're going to win the next two. That you could lose. They could be 1-2 going into Oklahoma, but most likely they won't. So now all of a sudden, that game at Oklahoma on September 20th doesn't seem nearly as daunting as it may have been a couple of weeks ago, or even Friday at 6:59 p.m. thinking, well, I don't know what we're going to do. It's like, okay, we have a team that actually looks like we can do some things. Now, you weren't perfect.
No.
There were a lot of mistakes, but it seemed like everything, okay, even though if there are mistakes, there are things that, in theory, you should be able to fix and you can work on, and if not eliminate, at least lessen.
Absolutely. And I think the front seven for Auburn defensively really showed up and showed out. And that's exactly what I thought that would happen with DJ Durkin and the guys that were returning. Kieron Crawford had a wonderful game. You saw the pressure that they were applying to Sawyer Robertson. And again, the things on the backstretch, the secondary, when he's throwing it 40-something times a game, I understand that there are going to be plays that were going to be given up in the pass game. Michael Trigg, the receiver for Baylor, he was physically gifted. Like, it was one of those things. I didn't even know Baylor had receivers that looked like that. And you saw Kobe Prentice, former Alabama receiver who transferred to Baylor. He had a touchdown. But all of the things that Auburn needs to correct are correctable. But you would much rather go back, look at this film at 1-0 and say, you know what? If this is what it's going to look like and we still find a way to win, perfectly fine with me. But I think the biggest takeaway from this weekend happened on the other side of the state. The trip to Tallahassee for the Alabama Crimson Tide, taking on Florida State Seminoles. After the first drive for Alabama, where they chewed almost 10 minutes off the clock, 17 plays, I am alongside of a lot of Alabama fans of, this is going to be, we actually may get back to joyless murder ball. Like, this is exactly what we needed to see. Well, that didn't happen moving forward, because I think Alabama, there are some issues. There are definitely some issues, because Florida State knocks off Alabama 31-7. And I think one of the biggest takeaways from this ball game was Alabama absolutely abandoned the run game. Didn't even try to get back to it. Alabama had 87 yards rushing total for the entire game. 55 of those yards came on the first drive of the football game. And that was one of my keys to victory for Alabama going into the game, was don't become one-dimensional. Because I didn't think that Ty Simpson was I don't think he needed that pressure of I have to make every single throw every single time. We have to balance this out with some sort of design of a run game to take some of the pressure off of me. And understand not having Jam Miller back there. But I do think that what Alabama did offensively just completely hindered a lot of things. And I know a lot of people are on this train of, DeBoer may not be the guy. I look at it from a different perspective. At some point, and I do think the nature of the game has kind of presented itself like this, but players also have to be held accountable in a lot of these situations as well. One thing coaches cannot coach is effort. And I never thought that we would get to a point where we had to question an Alabama team's effort. It was one of those things you could look and tell. And now, long gone are the days of once you hop off the bus and you see the script A, the other team is already down 7-0. Because Florida State didn't seem phased at all. They absolutely answered the call. They answered the bell. And every single time they had a chance to throw a jab, they absolutely connected. And I understand Gus Malzahn, Mike Norvell, offensive guys that predicate themselves on being efficient offensively. And the weather may have helped his dad as well because Tommy Castellanos only threw 14 passes. He was 9 for 14, 152 yards. But a lot of his damage was done with his legs as he had 78 yards on the ground, 16 carries and a touchdown. Micah Danzy, three rushes for 56 yards, had that big 32-yard run there in that ball game. But I think one of the reasons why a lot of this was happening was because of the fact that, one, Alabama defensively just seemed like they didn't know what was going on. I don't know if it was a game plan thing or maybe they just don't have the dudes that we thought they had. Now looking back on that Tim Keenan injury, probably a little bit bigger than what we really thought it was going to be because defensively especially in the front lines, they were just getting mauled. Like it was anything Florida State wanted to do, they were able to do offensively. And that's very, very alarming where it got to a point where I was talking to a couple of my buddies, and I mean, one of them graduated from Alabama, a big Alabama guy, a couple of other Alabama fans, and they were just like, I don't know what this team is. And you could look and tell it was the first time I had seen a team literally look Alabama square in the face, punch him in the mouth, and not that Alabama didn't respond. It was kind of one of those things where they kind of put themselves in a shell. Like they started to bow back of, oh, we weren't expecting this. So how much of it is coaching? How much of it is the play calling? How much of it is the actual players on the field not producing?
The good news is I think most of what's wrong with Alabama is fixable. The bad news is it looked like they hadn't had camp.
Yeah.
It looked like the last couple of months they just decided to sit around and, read or maybe just watch film or not do anything. Because they came out there and they looked lost.
Yep.
And that's something that most Alabama fans, it feels like a foreign concept to them because for the last 20-plus years, or almost 20 years really, they had a coach that had them ready to go for the most part. There were a couple of games, including like one championship game that like they, even if they were prepared, they still looked lost. But for some reason, this team, granted after one game, stop me if you've heard this before, a team that was left out of the playoff, didn't do well in their bowl game, and all of a sudden had a surprising loss their first week, looking nothing like we expected. Does that sound familiar? Because the team that it happened to last year just beat Alabama. Yep. Now, I'm not saying Alabama's going to go 2-10, and I don't think that this team has quit on Kalen DeBoer like Florida State did last year, but it's starting to feel a little Florida State-ish because there's no other, to me, logical reason why Alabama should have performed the way they did.
Right. And and that's kind of where I'm at with it too. It's not the fact that you lost the football game. I think it's more of how you lost. One of the big question marks going into it that at least during fall camp that we were hearing was the offensive line has gotten better. Like, a lot of people projected that this was one of the best offensive lines in the SEC, if not in the nation. Well, that was not on full display this Saturday. It was not. Now, Ty Simpson, he's got some things he has to work on. There were a couple times where I don't know if he's just skittish in the pocket or he's second guessing a lot. But there were times that he didn't have to escape the pocket. He could stand him there, stand tall. Now, I will say this, coming from the receiver's perspective, the only receiver that truly I came away thinking, okay, he actually cares, is Jeremy Bernard.
Oh, yeah.
He was giving absolute everything. He was blocking his tail off. Any pass that was in his vicinity, he was catching. Now, a lot of the limelight and a lot of the question marks and everything that was coming to Ryan Williams, I saw a guy that had alligator arms, scared to go across the middle, was not consistent. Now, he did give a little bit of effort on the blocking side of things. There was one pass that I can't remember if it was Cuevas, the tight end, or either Jeremy Bernard caught it on the sideline, and I saw two go up and try to get a couple guys, end up matching up on the safety to give the receiver a couple extra yards. I'm perfectly fine with that. But to me, it just, if I would have taken the color off of an Alabama team and just said, okay, this team is not this is not a good football team. Like, this team right here was not playing to win the football game. I don't know where to begin, because to me, there was the punt that could have been downed at like the 3-yard line. I can't remember who was down there, but there was like 2 or 3 Alabama guys on the punt, and they let it go in the end zone. And I'm like, okay, there's too many bodies around the football for it to still find its way into the end zone. That's an effort thing. Like, coaches already have enough time of roster management, making sure everybody's NIL budgets are intact. One thing they cannot coach into you is either you got it or you don't. Do you have that dog in you or you don't? They can't coach that into you. You either have it or you don't. And I think that for Alabama, this is the first time I've kind of taken a step back and really looked at this team from top to bottom and said, do they really want to be successful? Are they banking on the fact that, oh, we have the script A on our chest, teams are supposed to bow down to us? That is long gone. And a surprising stat that continues to make its way around social media, the last 10 games that Alabama has played, they are 5-5. Average. They're 500. Alabama now, like, again, we've seen them be at the tip of the top when they've knocked off what they did to LSU last year, when LSU was still fighting and clawing, trying to find themselves in a playoff spot. You slammed the door on that. But then you still have those losses to Oklahoma, unranked opponent, Vanderbilt, unranked opponent, Michigan in a bowl game. It happens. But then now you go into 2025 thinking you've corrected a lot of those things, and they rear its ugly head over this weekend, and you find yourself, and the score may say 31-17, but anybody that watched that game, outside of the first drive of the game for Alabama, you never really felt like Alabama was in that matchup, because every single time Florida State had the football, first down here, big explosive play there. Early on in the game, you saw your freshman Dijon Lee. Hated for him, but he looked exactly like a freshman looks in game 1, and Squirrel White was running the wide open over the top, and they drop it in the bucket and end up getting, there's a lot of takeaways from this matchup, but of course we want to hear from you. 205-834-9450. You can text in, you can call in as we try to dissect exactly what happened in week 1, some other games around the SEC, but I know a lot of people want to talk about Auburn and Alabama. We'll do that on the other side. Keep it locked here on Morning Jox. 624 here on Morning Jox. Damian Mitchell, John Saybear here with you. Trying to make sense of the opening weekend of college football. Baylor in Waco on Friday night, 38-24. And Alabama falls to Florida State, 31-17. But if you if you look at just going back to yesterday, South Carolina, Virginia Tech. One, I will say Lenore Sellers is picking up right where he left off.
Here's a stat for you. Lenore Sellers becomes the first South Carolina quarterback to win a game in Atlanta in, I think it's about 48 years, almost 50 years. Do you know the name of the last quarterback from South Carolina to win in Atlanta? And it's a name you know, but didn't realize you knew.
No.
His name was Ronnie Bass. As in sunshine. Like that one from Remember the Titans.
Really?
Yeah. He was the last South Carolina quarterback to win a game in Atlanta.
Wow.
Yeah, told you.
Okay.
But yeah, Lenore looks like, I don't know about this year, but he may make his way to New York somewhat, but before he leaves college.
That dude he's just a physical, he's just, I don't know what lab he was created in, but the things that he does on the football field, you don't expect him to have that quick of a twitch or that quick of a burst, but to be that big.
It was a drive late in the game, and Virginia Tech was trying to come back. They had him dead to rights twice.
Yep. And still escaped.
Yeah, he escaped, and not only escaped twice, behind the line of scrimmage, got the first down.
Exactly, man. That's just defensive. I talked about it last week. I was like, defensive linemen have their hands on him. They have him dead to rights, grabbed and everything, and he still just – and it's so fast, it's so sudden, and then he just gallops down the sideline, and it's like –
It's Michael Vick-like.
And Shane Beamer's just sitting there
told y'all.
I don't even know what that –
right.
We see this every day. I know exactly what we have. But they knock off Virginia Tech 24-11. Also just going down some scores in the SEC over the weekend. Tennessee knocks off Syracuse 45-26. Joey Aguilar. Nico who? That is I think that trade is very one-sided, kind of like Micah Parsons and the Dallas Cowboys to the Green Bay Packers. Mississippi State gets a big victory over Southern Miss, 34-17. Blake Shapen, healthy. That offense looks good. And again, I understand Southern Miss, but if you're Mississippi State, you will take them any way you get them. Kentucky knocks off Toledo, 24-16. Zach Calzada is just another example of Kentucky quarterbacks just going through the motions. The brother only had 85 yards passing in the whole game against Toledo.
Look, they won the game. It could be worse. It could be Army.
Oh. Yeah, shout out to our armed forces, but man, it was not
No.
We're going to talk about a fall from grace rather quickly. But it is what it is. Arkansas puts a beat down on Alabama A&M 52-7. Oklahoma knocks off Illinois State 35-3. Texas A&M in a little bit of it's not in the prettiest of games, but they knock off UTSA 42-24. Vanderbilt unleashes a beat down on Charleston Southern 45-3. Florida blanks Long Island 55-0. Ole Miss knocks off Georgia State 63-7. But I think two of the bigger games that we got a chance to see, Texas and Ohio State. Ohio State knocks off the number one, formerly this week, the number one team in the nation in the Texas Longhorns 14-7. And the biggest thing from this game, one, it wasn't the prettiest, but two, Arch Manning, there's going to be some uncomfortable conversations moving forward because, one, I think, and I was in this boat long ago of how about we just wait and see if Arch Manning is good before we start telling everybody that he's the Heisman favorite or he is the next great Manning along the lines. Because if you watch that game, that brother ain't ready. Who would have thought because of all the slander Quinn Ewers got last year of, oh, man, we got Arch sitting in his backup. He's going to be the guy. We're ready for him. you would have given every penny you had to have Quinn Ewers back on that football for you if you were Texas. And again, that game to me, I don't know if Sark was trying to just protect Arch Manning or Arch Manning just does not know how to complete a 5-yard out route. But that whole offense to me was just completely discombobulated. A shout out to Ohio State too, because they are picking up right where they left off, at least defensively. Offensively, there's some things that you could still, find yourself getting better at. But I think that for Texas, it was more of an indictment of, one, your defense did absolutely everything they possibly could. Your offense was left back in Austin. There's no other way to describe it or explain it except that you left that offense in Austin, and Arch Manning he has got to improve. He has to improve dramatically if they feel as though Texas is going to be one of those teams that's going to have success in the future.
One thing that I noticed it in this Texas game, in the Alabama game, and even a little bit in Georgia too. You have quarterbacks that are either in different places or are now coming out there, but it's almost as if people forget that maybe people weren't starting for a reason.
Yep.
Because as much as everyone was ready to dog on Quinn Ewers and put in Arch, well, there was probably a reason that Arch wasn't starting last year, and Quinn Ewers, I'd like to believe, was the better one. I think gone are the days where, okay, well, he's the senior, he's been here long enough, we got to let him go. Which, let's be honest, how many Alabama fans were mad when Saban wasn't doing that? We're like, he's putting in his time, he's putting in his effort. And you get Ty Simpson out there, and everyone's like, well, maybe we should have been nicer to Julian Sayin, or maybe we should have done something. But this was the guy you wanted. Like he's the guy that put in the effort, waited his time, waited for the exact moment, and we got this. But
Yep.
There was also probably a reason that Ty Simpson wasn't starting ahead of the previous quarterbacks there. There's probably a reason why Arch Manning is just now starting, or only started twice because Quinn Ewers got hurt. And Georgia fans ran off Carson Beck because his receivers kept dropping the ball, although I believe Miami only had one yesterday. So, yeah, everyone's so quick to jump on the quarterback, but a lot of times maybe there's a reason why things are done.
Yep. And the nightcap for Saturday night in the SEC, how about LSU taking that trip up to Clemson? And I will tell you this. I thought Clemson was going. I hadn't believed in LSU's defense until I saw it. What I saw Saturday, that is what LSU needs to do. LSU knocks off Clemson 17-10. And I came away from that game, one, they still have some issues offensively. When you would think that they would be able to rinse and repeat, Garrett Nussmeier go out there, throw for 400, and we'll see we'll let the chips fall where they may. They actually made an effort in running the football. I mean, straight up, not even an RPO. It was multiple times. Garrett Nussmeier would take the snap, turn around, and hand it to the running back, and they got positive yards. And you want to talk about Hugh Freeze sticking to the game plan. Shout out to Brian Kelly. Now, some of those plays coming out, especially coming after a timeout in the red zone, you throw a screen pass and the receiver fumbles the ball. Those are things that we just cannot have happen.
No.
But your defense stepping up and only holding a Clemson team with Cade Klubnik returning at quarterback to only 10 points, that is a recipe for LSU to have success moving forward.
Maybe Brian Kelly, and I don't know what the LSU NIL initiative is called, Tiger Fund. I don't know what it's called. But maybe you need to send a gift basket up to Michigan or Portnoy, because all the money that he got up there, it looks like they invested in their defense.
Yep.
Because LSU finally, for whatever, after wasting Jaden Daniels, after last year kind of half-assing the defense, LSU's seemingly kind of back on defense, and that's the one thing that they've really been missing. They've had great quarterback play. They've had great offenses. They just didn't have a defense to not completely shut down and stop. That's probably not going to happen consistently, but just give me one stop.
Yep.
Like when the game's on the line, we're up 35-31 and they are driving, like just get a stop. And LSU seems to have that again. And one thing I saw this entire weekend. I think this entire college football season is going to be wild because of the three top 10 games, top 10 contests we had, as well as the Alabama game. The team that ended up winning, to me, was completely surprising.
Yep.
Which leads me to believe that we don't know anything that's going to happen this college football season, which is probably the way it should be.
Absolutely. 205-834-9450. On the other side, we'll get to your text messages. We'll get to your calls, just reaction to the games over the weekend. How are we feeling? How do you feel about your team individually? We'll keep the conversation going on the other side. Keep it locked right here on Jox. 6:39 here on Morning Jox. Damien and John here with you, getting you set for the top of the hour because McElroy and Kublik in the morning from 7 to 10 a.m. here on Jox. I can only imagine some of the things that Greg and Cole, I know they've seen the tape of what happened over the weekend, and I'm pretty sure they got some things to get off their chest. Can't wait to see and hear what the guys have to say. We want to hear from you, 205-834-9450 on the Courtesy GMC text line. Somebody texted in and says, the Tide need to be laboring on the training ground this Labor Day. Dreadful. Somebody else texted in and says, Brian from Walker County, he texts in and says, Alabama, they're soft, undisciplined, got whooped up front on both sides, but still RTR. Lewis says, you can coach effort. For every 4-star loafing, there's a 3.5 star behind them who wants to go hard. I'll take the maximum effort over potential talent anytime. Put your effortless rear end on the bench or the portal. All right. Rick from Helena, going back to Alabama, says no discipline, no intensity, no desire. I honestly think Kalen's just collecting a check and is going to do what Lane did to Tennessee. Whoa. First off, where would he go? Lane at least was going to take USC, a job that he actually wanted. Yeah. I don't know if Kalen DeBoer is going to, hit the tarmac and say, you know what, I don't want to be here. I want to go back to North Dakota.
And last I checked, Alabama, Lane Kiffin may not have looked great in retrospect if you just look at the box score, but damn near had Alabama beat. It's not for 2 blocked field goals.
Right.
But okay, sure.
Oh boy, Cowboy texts in and says the dynasty is over. Come on now, y'all. I mean, again, it was a 1-game sample size.
Mm-hmm.
You got Louisiana Monroe this weekend. I'm not saying history is going to repeat itself, but it's not over, but the walls are starting to kind of
especially in this day and age of the college football playoff and taking 12 teams. I mean, you could lose to Georgia and still make the playoff.
Yeah.
Like, there's still a lot ahead of you. You can lose to Georgia and still make Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still a lot to play for. So if you want to get off the ship, feel free. If I'm sure there are a lot of Bama fans that are feeling like they're done with Alabama. If so, let us know. 205-834-9450. You could put your fandom up just like Damien did.
Hey, my team won. We handled our business.
No, she ain't wearing a shirt of theirs today, though.
No.
Okay. Not too much?
Nah, yeah, not too much. Man, it was Georgia State. I expected it. Now,
you just said my team won.
It's Georgia
proud,
State.
like you. Okay.
Because we still got some things to clean up. Austin Simmons, he had one arm talent. He has got it. That son gun could he got a Joe Milton type zip on it. Needs to find the touch a little bit, but we still knocked off, Georgia State 55-7. So it is what it is. Let's go to the phone lines. 205-834-9450. Let's hear from our buddy Don, who was a winner this weekend. What's going on this morning, Don? How we feeling?
Hey, good morning, John and Damon. Hope you guys had a good weekend. I know I did.
Absolutely.
Well, hey, I don't know if you guys realize what all Conrad's got to do since he lost all those bets to FSU Dave. And speaking of FSU Dave, I know he's listening. I went to his FSU party. Thanks for all the hospitality and everything. And he actually even made a phone call into the weekend show yesterday, Damien, and that was one of his first calls. But he's on top of the world, as he should be. And I think the Gus Malzahn effect had a little bit to do with that game. What you guys think?
Yeah, the commitment to running the football when Alabama showed that he couldn't stop it. Yeah, that was Gus Malzahn all the way.
Okay, well, let me go to my team real quick, Damien, and I think you're going to agree with my thought. The difference between this team and last year with Jackson Arnold towards Peyton Thorne, Jackson Arnold never forced the ball like Thorne did when he threw 5 interceptions in 2 or 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, 100%. He did not put the ball in harm's way, and when he saw green grass, he took it.
Yeah, and props to our offensive line. I mean, the offensive line had a lot to do with the running game, too, but those 2 new tackles, Murphy and Chaplin, are making a big difference. And I tell you one thing with you being a receiver, you'll get this, and I'm sure John will too. The play action fake with Singleton coming in motion, I really think that froze Baylor's defense.
Yeah, because you got to honor it. Like you get them in. You can kind of get some of their linebackers in eye violations where they see flow going one way and then they have to hesitate for half a second. Yeah, it's part of the game plan. And you got to honor it
Okay,
too,
well,
because they do give it to him. He's around the edge. And
yeah.
he's probably one of the fastest in college football. So you gotta hesitate for a half a second.
Yeah, and two new guys on offense that I thought played really, really well. I think we found us a tight end in Preston Howard, number 15. And then I've been talking with you and Conrad and everybody about Horatio Fields all summer. So I thought those two guys could be good weapons for us. But as a matter of fact, I just sent a text in. ESPN prediction, it's got us predicted at 10-2. We're actually favored over Alabama now after one game. Can you believe that? We're actually a favorite now over Alabama.
Well, you saw what Alabama looked like, and you saw what Auburn looked like. I don't think it's that far fetched.
Well, you know, I'm not going to pour any salt onto the wound. The Alabama people can call you in and cry all day and everything, but I sure am enjoying it after what I heard all summer. I must say that. But thank you guys, and I'll see everybody tomorrow at Social Taco.
We got you, Don. We appreciate you. Let's go to Dave in Hoover. Wants to talk about some games over the weekend. What's going on, Dave?
Man, I can't believe I can't be at Social Taco tomorrow. Man, what I would give to be a fly on the wall in that place. Yeah, you know, it's not about how Alabama lost. I mean, the fact they lost is how they lost. I mean, it's just they got out physical. And what blows my mind is Castellanos ran his mouth, and he went out there and they punched Alabama in the mouth. And you think Nick Saban was the head coach of that team, I don't care if he had Spain Park High School on the field. He'd have hung 70 on Spain Park. You just don't do that to Alabama. You don't give them that kind of bulletin board material. But they're on a 2-game losing streak. But what people don't understand is in their last 10 games, they're 5-5.
Yep.
Let that sink in. So I think where the rails came off the bus for me, and, you know, I've got a tent down there. My kids go to school. I pull for Alabama, wear them Alabama stuff, except for when they're playing Georgia, is when the team had that team-only meeting last year and said, we're going to start arriving at meetings on time. Like, meetings, plural? You arrive one time late, the doors are locked. Nick Saban ain't putting up with that crap. So I think that's a total disciplinarian thing. I don't think they practice hard enough. They're soft, and they're only soft because their coach is soft. I just don't see how. Now look, they go into Athens and beat Georgia. Guess what? They forget about Florida State, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So they can fix it, and all their goals are still ahead of them. And the national champion this year is not going to go undefeated. Trust me. I don't care who it is. You're going to have a couple of losses. That's just the way it is. And now, hey, Carson Beck looked good last night. I'm glad he got his act together, but that's why they got rid of him, was because of his girlfriend. He was on the phone 10 minutes before the game at kickoff at Ole Miss talking to his girlfriend in the bathroom, and his girlfriend was at Miami. That's one of the reasons why he went there. Now they're broken up, so maybe he can get women out of his life and get football in his head, and he'll be fine. Enjoy your show, guys.
We appreciate it, Dave. I didn't know that. I didn't know. He wasn't locked in. he wasn't locked in. The whole time. 205-834-9450. We'll continue with your calls, your texts on the other side. Keep it locked right here on Morning Jox. 6:52 here on Morning Jox. Here with you for a few more moments. Damien and John holding it down. Conrad will be back tomorrow. I believe so. I don't know. Weekend, and he was.
You talked to him after the game? Because he might have just walked in the beach.
Yeah, I talked to him after the game. I texted him. I was just like, "Hey, man, it's gonna be okay." And the things that he replied back to me, I can't say on air. And but
You think he's gonna burn those pink swim shorts?
I hope so. I hope so. Whether Alabama won or lost, I think you need to go ahead and get rid of them, dog. But he had he had a good time on vacation. Or at least I think he did. He didn't for at least one of those days, but he will be back tomorrow, and interested to see how he feels about this Alabama Crimson Tide team.
Because he's done leaving the state when Alabama plays.
Yeah.
Because this may be you have to take this for the team now, dog. Like, you have to be locked in at home somewhere.
Just be safe. Just be safe. Let's continue. Before we get out here, let's go to our buddy Melvin. I know he's a big Auburn fan, excited about what happened this weekend. Melvin, how are you feeling this week?
Oh, I'm feeling good, man, especially after the win. I know we got some things to clean up, especially on the defensive side. I know the secondary needs some work. But cautiously optimistic is how I would describe how I feel as an Auburn fan this morning. But what I want to know, Damien, I know you play a little wide receiver in college. They say that they was playing if I heard it right, a two shell. Is that two safeties?
Yeah.
Over the top.
Mm-hmm.
And they said they took the pass away, so we wasn't able to, throw it.
Yeah.
So they meant that they wasn't gonna let us beat them with, our wideouts. But I'll hang up the list.
Yeah.
Enjoy the show.
Appreciate you, Melvin. Yeah, I mean, Baylor kind of put it into when you talk about the two high shell, you got two safeties. Kind of, they were supposed to be there at least when you're going too high. They're going to be there outside for run support, which was not the case. And I think for Baylor, that's kind of what they wanted to do. Now, I will say that the way that Auburn did attack them, like some of those things, like there was a throw to Malcolm Simmons there on the outside, which, I mean, it was a good decision by Jackson Arnold because he did have him beat as far as the corner, but just kind of left it a little bit too far inside, and the DB was able to make a play. But Baylor was set out to not let those big-time receivers make a play, and they were selling out saying, hey, that we're going to try our best in the run game and just, see what can happen. But Auburn ran for 300, so was not a successful game plan. But overall, if you're an Auburn fan, you got to be feeling